Diamond B Sports presents the American Sports Cavalcade. A panorama of speed, color, drama, and excitement. The American Sports Cavalcade.
There's nothing particularly humorous about the modern funny car. They're dangerous mounts that run a quarter mile on a razor's edge between mind-boggling performance and terrifying disaster. It was here at State Capitol Raceway outside Baton Rouge, Louisiana in 1984 that Ed McCullough crossed the line. The resulting collision with John Collins gave graphic proof of the evil that funny cars can do. There was a time in the 1960s when the term funny was the most appropriate way to describe the hybrid race machines that grew out of the major car manufacturers' involvement with drag racing. Altered wheelbases, fuel injector pipes sticking through the hoods, bouncing and bopping down the quarter mile. It was hard to take these cars seriously. Some may mourn the passing of funny cars' showman days when drivers like Jungle Jim Lieberman and cars like the Chi-Town Hustler electrified fans with their antics. Now, a little more than 20 years after funny cars started invading America's drag strips, they've become the darling of race fans, and the stands are jammed when these fabulous floppers fire up. Hi, I'm Brock Gates. For 13 years now, the fans have been coming here to the State Capitol Dragway outside Baton Rouge, Louisiana, for the National Hot Rod Association Cajun Nationals. They've come to expect some wild action and some even wilder competition, not only from the funny cars, but from the top fuel dragsters and the pro stockers as well. For more on that, let's go to my pal, Steve Evans.
Brock, I'm sure you'll recall that 1 year ago, all the talk here at the Cajun Nationals was about the revolutionary new streamlined dragsters. Well, this year, streamliners still, that's the talk, but now it's about their demise. Remember Gary Ormsby's beautiful streamliner? It was runner-up here a year ago. Well, it is gone. It has been parked in favor of a conventional car that, unfortunately for Gary, was beaten here today in round number 1. Joe Amato's beautiful streamliner. We showed you from Minnesota last year. It is sold to a guy in California. Amato has nothing to do with it, nor does he want to have anything to do with it. Darrell Wynn's car. Remember at the Winter Nationals, all the aerodynamic tricks, they have all been stripped off of the car. Now, why is all this happening? Well, it's weight. It's hard enough as it is to get these cars down to the NHRA minimum of 1,800 pounds. And what little effect the aerodynamics may have is not worth carrying that kind of weight. Plus, these cars need a certain amount of resistance to beg the engines to burn more nitro. More nitro, more horsepower. More than makes up for whatever slipperiness they may enjoy. Now, Big Daddy Don Garlits, he started the revolution. He is going to stay with this nose piece and his small front wheels. But any further streamlining is on a back and very cold burner. What does all this mean? Well, I think it means better and closer racing. For the drivers in pretty similar chassis, it's horsepower, tuning, and driving that's going to make the difference.
Now, Steve, as you know, because of breakage and other factors, Don Garlits will have a bye run in round 2. But he'll want to make a good pass, nevertheless, to ensure lane choice in the semis.
And that'll come just a little bit later. Right now, it's time for the lady in the pink car. Three-time NHRA Top Fuel World Champion Shirley Muldowney here heating up the tires. The procedure called the burnout. She'll be in the far lane, and up against her, the Texan, Eddie Hill.
Well, Steve, you notice that both Shirley and Eddie are running those enclosed cockpits. That is the one concession that everybody about has made to streamlining, and I think that's going to stay.
Eddie Hill also using the small front wheels, much like Don Garlits. Eddie Hill from Wichita Falls, Texas, at one time king of the liquid quarter mile in the drag boats. And, of course, everyone knows the story of this lady, Shirley Muldowney. She has missed the last few races due to some abdominal surgery, but she says she's feeling fit and ready to go.
Well, Shirley definitely wants to put a win in the column here pretty quickly, Steve. Since her comeback, she's had some problems. The car has not behaved the way she wanted it to, and right now, though, her opportunity to take down Eddie Hill is a good one. Let's see how it works.
Eddie Hill with some control problems. Shirley pulls ahead, smokes the tire. It is Eddie Hill coming back around Shirley Muldowney. Hill wins it at 5.61 seconds. Oh, and this will not make Shirley happy. She ran quicker than did Eddie Hill at 5.58.
You're right, Steve, but it was purely a question of reaction time. Eddie Hill off the line, substantially quicker than Shirley. And as you say, he overcame some control problems about half track. Here you can see Eddie Hill take command of the drag race. Shirley Muldowney runs a slightly lower ET, but does not pull it out, losing to Texan Eddie Hill right here by roughly half a car.
So Eddie Hill's crew will be very proud of his driving job that has taken them into the semifinals. Hill wasting no time getting that helmet off. It is very hot and very humid today in Baton Rouge.
It sure is, Steve. And now let's get ready for more round 2 top fuel action. That car, what a familiar sight that is to drag racing fans. That is young Darrell Gwynn in his beautiful red and white dragster and another red car. Boy, has this guy been running hard over the season.
Well, Brock, this is a race you wouldn't expect to see this early in eliminations. Darrell Gwynn didn't qualify as quickly as he usually does, so he's paired with Joe Amato, who was the #1 qualifier early here in the second round. What you're looking at is the world's fastest top fuel dragster driver, Joe Amato, at 279 miles per hour, the '84 world champion from Old Forge, Pennsylvania.
His opponent is young Darrell Gwynn, who you may have noticed is carrying some unusual markings on his rear tires. Earlier, Steve had a look at them.
I've discovered 2 interesting things here in Darrell Gwynn's camp. First of all, we are not the only one shooting video here. Always did want to shoot back. Also, he's got a terminal case of Ring Around the Tire. Actually, this home video camera belonging to Darrell's mom and the Ring Around the Tire work together. When she videotapes in the starting line, it's much more easy to see what the footprint of the tire is like rather than trying to look at black rubber against black asphalt. Also, still photos and the lights with this ring will show them how the tire plants at high speed. Now, this other mark here will give them some idea of how the tire is spinning. It's awful hard to tell without any kind of an identification mark visually. They'll also videotape that as well as still pictures. And his father, Jerry, his eye is so keen that with the naked eye, he can tell just how hard the tire is spinning. Without this mark, that's pretty hard to do.
Well, with your training with that video camera, I'm sure that you got a great future in television, Steve.
I don't think I'll quit my day job just yet. So in the near lane, the world's quickest Darrell Gwynn holds the record at 5:20 up against Joe Amato, the world's fastest. Both have won an event so far this year. The only other driver to do so is Don Garlett's coming up later. This is just a great matchup early in the going. Round 2, top fuel eliminator. It is a red light by Darrell Gwynn, and look at Gwynn streak away. Some motor problems just before he got to the finish line, but Darrell Gwynn has red lighted.
On a double disaster for Darrell Gwynn. Not only does he red light, which all top fuel drivers hate to do, but he hurts the motor pretty seriously. So there you see the red light in the near lane. Darrell Gwynn going down to a defeat almost before the race starts and giving Joe Amato a free pass into the semifinals. Let's go to Steve.
Oftentimes, a driver is so focused on his side of the tree, he doesn't see his opponent red light. Did you, Joe Amato?
Yeah, I saw the red light, Steve. I just ran it through to try and get lane choice for the next round and just to see where the motor was at and make sure everything was okay. You know, I knew it was going to be a real close race, and we both ran 5:30s before that, so it's a driver's race there. You know, it could have made the difference between winning and losing. You know, luckily the light came on. Darrell could have got lucky and got the light, and then I would have made me look real bad. But then, thank God, the red light came on, and the TRW dragsters in the next round.
And still in the 5:30s as you go to the semifinals at 5:39.
Well, thank you. That's Tim Richards and the boys are doing an outstanding job in this heat. You know, I'm just got to do my job and drive good.
Joe Amato, he's on his way.
Well, of course, Tim Richards, the crew chief on Joe's car, a brilliant mechanic and a major factor in Amato's successes over the recent years, Steve.
And here's another talented team. Kenny Bernstein's crew on his funny car putting finishing touches on that motor. Stay with us. We'll be back with more top fuel action and funny cars, too.
You kind of expect Vivian Lee and Clark Gable to come walking down those steps. That is the beautiful Rosedown Plantation, right down the road on what they call the Great River Road, where these beautiful plantations are fairly common.
And fairly common back here in State Capitol Dragway is the kind of work that goes into one of these funny cars before they come to the starting line to race again. That is Jim Head's crew. He'll be up in round number 2 against John Force. And they have a few minutes remaining to get that engine back together as we are still in round 2 of top fuel dragster elimination. Glenn Nickress just blazing the tires here, trying to clean off that racetrack, heat up the tires, and put some heat in the pavement as well. Dick LaHaye will be his opponent.
And Dick running this season with some strong new sponsorship. And now let's go down to Steve with Darrell Gwynn.
Darrell, it appeared to me anyway that nothing really went right on the starting line. On the dry burnout, it smoked the tires. Your dad was telling you to hold the brakes, just everything going on.
Well, obviously, we knew we had to race Joe for this next round, and we hopped it up a little bit, and You know, I've got some good brakes on this car, and if it does smoke the tires on the dry burnout, I usually hold the brakes on the run, and that usually cures it. Well, in this case, it cured it again, but I red light, and then I proceeded to drive the car on through because I wanted to see what it did. We made a major tune-up change, and it blew the blower off for some reason. That's the first time I've ever blown the blower off, so I'm anxious to see what the problem is.
There'll be some serious postmortems in Darrell's pit. Right now, though, Dick LaHaye out of Lansing, Michigan. Remember him with his daughter Kim as his crew chief, and now her brother Jeff working on the crew as well.
That's right, and Glenn Mikras, that's a new face to our NHRA national event coverage. A fairly recent addition to the pro ranks, a car out of Southern California.
And he beat Gary Ormsby, Steve, in the first round to move in against Dick LaHaye. A formidable opponent, believe me. Dick running stronger all the time.
You just saw the gloved hand of LaHaye pumping that handbrake, carefully moving those front wheels into the staging beam. It's got to be done just right. They are off. Dick LaHaye with an immediate lead. Dick LaHaye with a car-length victory. Boy, I'll tell you, Mikras was in it all the way. Gave LaHaye everything he could handle. LaHaye wins it at 545, 262 miles per hour to a close 551.
Boy, Mikras made LaHaye work for that one. Here comes Big Daddy Don Garlits. He'll make a bye run, but he wants low ET for lane choice. And now, let's go to Steve with Dick LaHaye.
Well, down here, Dick LaHaye, exhausted like all of us, really, from this heat and humidity. But the good thing the engine is clean. Not a drop of oil out of it and a strong run.
Well, I think it ran pretty good, but, you know, it's hard to tell out there in all that heat and so forth. It ran good first round, and it should have duplicated itself again.
You were telling me earlier this is a strange track because the groove is kind of an arc. It's not a straight line.
That's true. We have to line the car up crooked to go down the lane straight is what it amounts to. And it looks strange when you're sitting up there in the start line and you're pointed at the guardrail to make it go down the lane straight.
That definitely gets your attention as we watch Big Daddy Don Garlits get ready for that bye run we talked about earlier. Now there's some pressure on Garlits, Steve, because he seems to have lost the combination.
Well, he had a great start winning the Winter Nationals in California, ran the 520s. Then he changed the cylinder heads, the blower, the fuel pump, trying to run the combination that Joe Amato and Gerald Quinn run, and just has not yet hit on it. And Garlits, boy, he's got plenty of power this time. In fact, too much for this old racetrack. Don Garlits, it's doubtful that he will have lane choice for the semifinals.
Oh, absolutely, Steve. A 631, 180 miles an hour. Big Daddy's got to be displeased with that. As we take a look at the old state capitol building here just down the road in Baton Rouge, these are the pairings in the Citgo K-Mart Cajun Nationals Top Fuel semifinals. Garlits versus Dick LaHaye. That'll be a good one. And Joe Amato versus Eddie Hill. Joe Amato has lane choice. And now let's go to Steve, who's with Big Daddy.
So Don Garlits blazing the tires like days of old, but I really wondered, Don, did you go up there, you know you had a victory, and an easy path into semis just to find out what the track would take?
Well, we had a clutch problem on the first round, and we worked on it, and I guess we went too far.
And now you know you've got to, take some tension pressure out of the clutch?
Got to take a little weight off of it, yeah.
You know, if anyone, I would think, have an advantage in this kind of heat and humidity with all your experience, that might be one for you.
Who knows? They were running pretty good.
Yeah, they are indeed. Big Daddy goes to the semis after he does some clutch work.
Well, you can see that his mind is simply focused on that clutch and on that engine because he is not a happy man, and the car is not running anywhere near up to his expectations.
All right, it is time now for round number 2 of funny cars. And here is a brand new car and driver to our event coverage. This is Henry Phillips from Oklahoma. This is his first NHRA national event. Do you think he might be a little uptight, Brock?
Well, he's going up against one of the greats in the sport, Raymond Beadle in the Blue Max. You know, he just graduated from Frank Hawley's school down in Gainesville, Florida, Steve, so he is a novice.
That's right, and here is Raymond strapped into the car. The body's still up, as you can tell by the vibrating fiberglass. The machine is running, and now Dale Emery, the crew chief, latches down the body for Raymond Beadle.
Well, Raymond, of course, dropped out for a couple of years to run his expanding race team in stock cars, sprint cars, and funny cars, but now he's decided to get back behind the wheel of the famed Blue Max.
And Brock, in my personal opinion, no one has ever driven a funny car with any more skill and bravery than Raymond Beadle out of Dallas, Texas. And you can't be more of a rookie than starting your very first race ever, as is Henry Phillips. And these cars, even though they go in a straight line, Brock, as you well know, they are very difficult to drive. There's so many things the driver has to do before he ever gets to this staging process even.
Well, Steve, you can see NHRA starter Buster Couch trying to move the proceedings along here a little bit. Phillips very, very slow in staging. a long time, and Beatles waited and waited.
They left right together, Brock, but Phillips having problems, and look at Raymond Beadle drive that automobile through the tire smoke. Beadle will go into the semis at 6.10 seconds, 250 miles per hour.
As we get a look at the crew of Joe Amato making final preparations for his semifinal run against Texan Eddie Hill. The Citgo K-Mart Cajun Nationals, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm Brock Yates along with Steve Evans as we watch the Big Daddy Don Garlett's crew try to correct their problems. In the meantime, let's go to Steve with Raymond Beadle.
Well, it's that kind of driving that has carried Raymond Beadle to 3 funny car world championships, and it's a good thing there was a steering wheel on the end of that shaft that time, because you did a heck of a job.
Well, the car got awful loose. Our car got hot. We had trouble with this guy the other day. He's wanting to stage. He's been new, I guess. Our car, once it gets over about 180, it wants to smoke the tires. It did again, but I never did see him. Like I said, the car hooked up good enough that we at least made the other end.
So it's really critical that your opponent not hold you up so you don't build too much heat in the motor?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, most of the guys, you know, we're used to running with them, like Bernstein and Snake and McEwen and everyone, and we've run with them for 15 or 20 years, so we know what everyone's going to do, but we get someone new, and the other day we had trouble with this guy, and then we told him then, so.
He's green.
He's green, but I mean, he's all right. He's a good kid.
Yes, thanks, Raymond.
Is anybody more laid back in big-time automobile racing than Raymond Beadle? Take a look at this car. One of the most beautiful, funny cars I think I've ever seen, Steve.
That's right. This is Jim Head, who won the Cajun Nationals back in 1985. That is about as zoomy, I guess, as you can possibly get, not to mention the beautiful paint. And look at the big whale tail, the wing on the back of that car, Brock. Just incredible. There's more square footage there than some California condos, I'd say.
Wild-looking machine. And speaking of wild, look at the burnout that his opponent, John Force, in the left lane pulled off, Steve.
An incredible burnout, Brock. You know, Jim Head's car, boy, it's that clean and pretty. It is just fitted with every kind of electronic device you can imagine, because that man, Jim Head, Columbus, Ohio, is an electrical contractor. John Forrest, well, the last occupation he had besides drag racing was truck driving, and that was about 12 or 13 years ago. And John's first taste of success came here in 1979. He was runner-up to Kenny Bernstein at the Cajun Nationals. He's been runner-up another 7 or 8 times since, and still has not won a big NHRA race.
What a hard driver and what a hard competitor. Oh, there seems to be trouble with, yes, Steve, he's stalled out there.
That's right. It sounded like a fuel starvation problem, Brock. The motor kind of came up all of a sudden like it was running out of fuel, leaning out, in other words, and he is dead in the water. Here comes the crew, but without the truck or starter motor, they're not going to be able to do a thing for John but get him off the racetrack.
How much time will he have before Buster Couch, the starter, will wave him off?
Well, the burnouts have been completed, so there's not enough time to do anything here, and the crew knows that. It's going to be a single for Jim Head.
Oh, that's a terribly tough break for this man, John Force, as we said, one of the toughest, most intense competitors. There you see a burst of fire from underneath the car. That was enough to put him away. There goes a very dejected young man from California, John Force. This man from Columbus, Ohio, on a single pass. Jim Head, ooh, perilously close to the yellow line in the center. Jim Head runs a 589, 225 miles an hour. We'll see whether that is enough to give him lane choice as John Force heads for the pits.
Well, you're right. Jim Head did come very close to that center line, but the decision is he didn't touch it. The time will stand for lane choice. Here is Don the Snake Prudhomme, back on the trail after taking a year off in 1986 and has already won 1 race. The Motorcraft Gator Nationals down in Gainesville, Florida, the 2nd race of the season. This is the 4th.
And, Steve, this is a rematch of that Gator Nationals final when Johnny West and the Hawaiian fell to the Snake in a very good race. As we watched the Snake go into the staging area, I wonder, does he say, will history repeat itself?
I don't know. The Snake looked very confident, Brock, to me this morning in the staging lane. You know, and interesting, I went over to visit the Roland Leon camp that runs that particular car right there, and you know what? There was no Roland Leon. I asked Johnny West, where's Roland? He said, somewhere on a beach in the Bahamas, and I couldn't believe it. The only time I know that Roland's never gone to the races with his car. Don the Snake Prudhomme, well, he's got to go. He drives the thing.
Absolutely, and nobody drives him better than the Snake. One of the all-time greats. Many people rank him right beside Big Daddy Don Garlett as the giant of the sport.
The Snake strikes first. He's off the mark, but look at the power for Johnny West in the 4 lane. Johnny West drives away from Don the Snake Prudhomme. Some sweet revenge there after his loss to the Bite at the Gator Nationals. So Johnny West, that's the quickest elapsed time for any funny car at 5.63 seconds, taking low elapsed time in the event away from that man, Kenny Bernstein. Stay with us.
What could be a more tranquil and genteel scene than the beautiful formal gardens here at the Rose Down Plantation? Just a few miles down the road from where the sound and the fury continues at the Citgo K-Mart Cajun Nationals. And Steve Evans, it's funny car time.
It is, Brock, and here is Ed the Ace McCullough. If there's one car in the country that has a shot of running with record-setting Kenny Bernstein, it's Ace McCullough, that far lane. That was Bernstein. You saw just burns through the picture. Ooh, and McCullough getting sideways over the center line, almost makes contact with Bernstein. McCullough has got big problems. He crossed that center line. That's going to put him out of the race. That is grounds for disqualification, and I don't think it's going to much matter. That car is stranded out there mid-course.
Something definitely broke. You see Ed's hatch opening up. He'll be climbing out of that race car, finished for the day. And we'll be interested to find out exactly what broke, whether it was something in the rear end or perhaps something in the engine that poured oil on the racetrack. But Ed McCullough, obviously disappointed, out of the race car and finished for the day. Now let's take another look at what happened. As you can see, this is the burnout, those spectacular smoky burnouts that the fans love so much for the funny cars. Everything looks pretty normal right here. There you can see Bernstein in the left lane. Here is McCullough starting to fishtail. Obviously something is broken in the race car. There he crosses the center line, almost ticks Bernstein in the left front fender, and now just kind of slides to a halt with an obviously broken race car. And now Steve's with Ed.
Anytime something goes wrong with a funny car on the burnout that puts out the volume of oil into the rear tires that Ed McCullough just experienced, you've really got your hands full.
Well, Steve, when I come out of the water box, you know, I mean, spinning the tires always wet anyway, you know, and I got after it pretty good. When I lifted from the burnout, I mean, it just started skating, and that's what happened is it blew that oil filter O-ring out, and it was just oiling the racetrack and the tires, and it was like you were on ice.
And the last thing you wanted to do was give Kenny Bernstein a gift like that.
I mean, you know, we got to put pressure on Kenny, and I mean, they get the brakes, and I mean, one of these days is going to turn around, and we're going to get the brakes, and we're going to beat him.
Thanks, Ed.
You bet. Thank you.
Ed McCullough obviously referring to the almost unbeatable chain that Kenny Bernstein has going for the last couple of seasons, Steve.
Well, Kenny is gunning for a third consecutive world title, Brock, and is off to a very good start. He has won 2 of the 3 races held so far this year. Only Don Prudhomme has reached the winner's circle other than the man in this red Buick LeSabre. Dale Armstrong, over the offseason, designed a new rear tail for this body. It's been very controversial, but obviously works. Bernstein has a bye run. We've stressed before. Even though you're all by yourself, you want to make a full pass to try to get lane choice. Kenny Bernstein stops the timers. Oh, my. 5.59. That's low elapsed time of the event for the funny car breed at 261 miles per hour. So as we look at the statue downtown of Huey P. Long, the famous governor of the state of Louisiana many years ago, here's our pairings for the semifinals. Bernstein against Beetle. You know who has lane choice there. And it will be Johnny West in the Hawaiian car up against Jim Head, who has won on this track before. He knows how to get down the State Capitol Dragway quarter mile.
But the big battle will be between Raymond Beetle and Kenny Bernstein. Raymond Beetle, 3-time World Funny Car Champion, against the reigning champion, Kenny Bernstein, after his 3rd title. What a matchup that is going to be as we watch Beetle's crew go to work on his car. Now let's go to Steve.
Well, that clocking by Kenny Bernstein has probably tempered the smile you saw a few moments ago on Johnny West's face. Track record, 5:59.
Oh, super. Well, I didn't know that was going to happen. None of us did. It's a tough situation out there, needless to say, Steve. You know it is, and you got to tickle it. We backed it way up the first round, Dale and the guys did, and then we said, holy cow, everybody's outrun us. We better do something. So we took a shot then to see if the track could hold it.
And you had to wonder for a minute if Ed McCullough didn't want your lane, too.
Well, he was out there trying to come over with me. He had some problems with an engine, of course, expiring and putting oil on the tires and sliding over into my lane. But I thought, well, Ed, don't be doing that on the run now.
Is there ever any temptation when you've got a freebie like that to take it easy? It costs a lot of money to run these cars.
Not at all. You have to go over that Winston Championship, and the only way you can do it is run every single run the entire year full out. That's how you learn. That's how you make it happen for you.
I had a feeling that's what you'd say. See you in the semi.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, Kenny Bernstein always stands on the gas. Now, it's Pro Stock time. That yellow and white car, the Rare Morrison Camaro, being driven by Bruce Allen, one of the very best. He'll go against Kenny Delco. Now, these guys are the whole shot artists. The skill on the starting line, critical in this kind of racing, more so than any other. Earlier, Steve had a look at the tactics of racing a Pro Stock.
A term you hear a lot in drag racing is hole shot. One driver with better reactions getting off the starting line first, leaving the other still sitting at the line or in the hole. Using starter Buster Couch's magic box here, let me take you through that sequence. Now, as the cars move forward, and you well know they use their front wheels to break these beams, I'm going to use my big foot. First thing that happens, they get into an infrared beam that controls the pre-stage. That's on top of the tree. It just helps you find the starting line. They move further forward, and the stage light comes on. When both have accomplished that, now it's time for Buster Couch to take this box and hit the switch. The first thing the driver sees is a flash of yellow. That's when you react. You do not wait for the green. You'll be late. There's only 0.4 of a second between yellow and green. If you gamble on the lights and that 0.4 hasn't elapsed, then it's going to bypass green, go right to red, and you're out of here. So the drivers who get the better hole shots are the ones whose eyes are better connected to their feet, I guess you could say. Now remember also, the lanes are independently timed. The clocks don't start until the front wheels leave these beams, and that accounts for why a driver with a hole shot can often win with a slower elapsed time.
And you're inclined to see more red lights in Pro Stock than any other form of competition because these guys squeeze the light harder than anybody.
Well, Bruce Allen usually doesn't have to. He's got so much horsepower in that Rare Morrison Camaro from Arlington, Texas. This is Kenny Delco. He's from Center Reach, Long Island, New York, and he is also driving a Camaro. Many of the Chevrolet competitors have on the drawing board or in construction Chevy Berettas, but so far the Camaro is the workhorse, and Chevrolet did not win a single Pro Stock title in all of '86 and hopes for better results in '87. That is Allen in the far lane, Kenny Delco in the near lane. There you see that flash of green. They're away right together. Delco having some problems. Delco falls back. He's out of this one. Bruce Allen will win it. Whoa! And Allen skates across the finish line. That accounts for the slow times of 790, 147 miles per hour. That can be scary stuff.
As we watch the crew of Johnny West in the Hawaiian car getting ready to go up against Jim Head in their semifinal funny car round. I'm Brock Yates, along with Steve Evans, back at the State Capitol Dragway, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, for more Citgo, K-Mart, Cajun Nationals action. And now, let's go to Steve.
Well, Bruce Allen, that didn't look like it was a lot of fun, that ride.
That wasn't a lot of fun. That was a little scary there. Got pretty loose down there in third gear. Just pulled it over and high, and tires started spinning. It was off the throttle and back on, trying to keep it straight. It's just one of them things. Just, I don't know, just probably a little rice all over there on that side to get sprayed around.
Let's hope the next round's a little straighter.
Yeah, me too.
Well, Bruce Allen referring to rice hull ash, which is used to pick up oil that's dropped on the track here and does continue to make the racetrack slippery. This is going to be a difficult racetrack to deal with as the afternoon continues, Steve, and the heat builds.
And you have to wonder if maybe Bruce Allen doesn't have some mechanical problems as well that are contributing to the handling difficulties. Well, that is Butch Leal. Pontiac Trans Am in the far lane. There have been 3 Pro Stock races this year and 3 winners, much like Top Fuel. Leal won the middle race, the Gator Nationals down in Gainesville, Florida, and Butch is the master of the hole shot. As we discussed earlier, nobody executes it better than that guy. And here is Larry Morgan, first year in Pro Stock racing, and looks very promising. That is an old Forenza from Newark, Ohio. Larry Morgan was a good sportsman racer, Brock. He brought a lot of experience to the cockpit of a Pro Stock car, but he'd be the first to tell you that these cars are so much different. They leave so hard up the starting line, the first time you drive one, it almost knocks you out. It is Butch Leal with a fantastic light. Butch Leal only 0.02 of a second away from the perfect light. Leal is skating around just like Bruce Allen did, but hangs onto it. Wow. Butch Leal at 759, 181 miles an hour, and you can see the problems he was having, Brock.
You sure can. And here is a pair. Boy, Bob Glidden, the reigning world champion, going up against arch rival Warren Johnson. Warren Johnson in a brand new Oldsmobile has had some problems this season. But before that race, let's go to Steve with Butch Leal.
Ooh, I did some stuff, but I wasn't about to get it. I knew that.
Butch Leal and Larry Morgan just in agreeing on one thing. That is a spooky racetrack for a Pro Stock car.
Well, Steve, evidently what happened is when that one lane, left lane, got real bad oil down by McCullough,
they blew the stuff over even to the right lane. And I chose the right lane because I didn't want to run through the oil. And I put it in third gear, and this thing started making a move, and I said, please don't shake, you know. And came back and forth, and finally I just shut it off. I couldn't make it, but I thought I, you know, had enough to win the race.
You got to be half Butch Lil and half Richard Petty.
I'm telling you, this with oil and what happens that dust gets over there, Steve? These things like to keep traction, and without that, you know, it doesn't happen. The funny car has enough spoiler on the back to put a lot of downforce on the back, and these Pro Stock cars don't have, they have negative. They don't have much downforce, so that's the part, down track. They start spinning in third and fourth gear.
See you a little later on.
Thank you.
So this racetrack, as we said earlier, will probably become more and more of a factor as the traction becomes more critical. All right, let's go to a pair of the greats in Pro Stock competition. 7-time world champion Bob Glidden in his Thunderbird against Warren Johnson in his Oldsmobile. Won the Winter Nationals, and since then has been on a little bit of a slump, Steve Evans.
That's right. It really hurt him in the World Championship chase, earning no points at all at the second race, the Gator Nationals, when he failed to qualify. Now, this is a different car, though. This is a brand new machine. Warren seems to have a lot of faith in this. He qualified very high. Warren Johnson, number 2 in the world last year. Bob Glidden, number 1. They're off together. Warren Johnson in the near lane.
And now Glidden showing real muscle at half track and goes on to a convincing victory. Puts away Warren Johnson with a 752, 185 miles an hour in a lane that's been very, very treacherous. There you can see Glidden ever so slightly out of control, but gathers it up in convincing fashion and goes on to victory. Steve is with him.
It's been a long time since all of the Pro Stock drivers in one round have all gotten out of their car going, whoa, that was a little scary.
I saw the first 2 cars, Bruce and Butch. They had a lot of trouble in the right lane. The left lane had just gotten oiled, so we still took the right lane instead of going to the left. We should have gotten a little loose, but I think we made a better pass than the rest of the cars.
I think you did, too. You fell off a little bit from your previous best, but a 751, too.
Not bad. No. I'm happy with that.
When Bob Glidden's happy with a run, you better watch out because he is the man to beat. Let's go back to the starting line for another pair. Nick Nicholas versus Reed Wishnet. Tell me a little bit about Reed Wishnet, Steve.
Well, Reed in that beautiful black Camaro, Brock, he was the last to abandon the Hemi Chrysler Corporation product in Pro Stock. He stuck with it until just a couple of years ago. Reed Wishnet, he's a plumbing contractor in the Atlanta area, a very successful one. Has a lot of fun Pro Stock racing. Nick Nicholas from New York. You may remember back in '85, he was a big upset winner of the category at the Gator Nationals in Florida.
And he beat Gary Brown to get here. And Steve, I'll tell you what, he wins first prize for big hood scoop of the day. Nick Nicholas carrying the largest hood scoop I think I've ever seen on a Pro Stocker.
That'll ram a little air down those twin 4-barrel carburetors. And there is the beautiful black and gold leaf Camaro of Reed Wishnet. Wishnet poised and ready, as is Nick Nicholas. The RPMs come up well over 8,000 before they drop the clutch on these 4-speed equipped automobiles. Nicholas still waiting to move in. Both drivers are pre-staged only. Now they lunge into that final beam, and off the mark they go. Nick Nicholas, a big hole shot for Nicholas. That was a brilliant start by the car in the near lane, but suddenly it has problems. Reed Wishnet in the Camaro comes from behind, a relief to that crew. He was just a little bit late. Wishnet's 820 puts him in the semifinals.
So as we take a look at the beautiful Louisiana State Capitol building here in Baton Rouge, we'll also take a look at the pairings for the semifinals of the Pro Stock. That's Reed Wishnet going to go against Bruce Allen. Remember, both of them had a little problem in that lane. Bob Glidden and Butch Lil. What a race that's going to be. And now, let's go to Steve with Reed Wishnet.
But Reed Wishnet obviously will not be delighted with the 8-second elapsed time on his time slip. But what really matters, it'll say W for win.
Right. In other words, I sucked the tires real bad, and I figured Nick had me. And I got out of it real quick, and I seen something happen to him, and I went back in it and got by him. So.
You ever thought of putting a rearview mirror in one of these cars?
Well, we could probably use it. Yeah.
You at least have some idea where the guy is.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Reed Wishnet goes in the semis. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job by Reed on a hot afternoon as Dale Armstrong, the crew chief on Kenny Bernstein's car. They're buttoned up and ready to go. Dale taking a little easy rest on one of those big soft slicks as the final preparations are completed in Kenny Bernstein's funny car. In the meantime, though, we've got Top Fuel semifinals. That's Eddie Hill. He'll face Joe Amato right after this.
Of the many antebellum mansions we've been able to visit in our many trips to cover the races here in Baton Rouge, Rosedown is still my favorite. And here's one of the reasons why. It's so quiet, reflective, the Spanish moss in the trees. It's just like stepping back into time. But certainly there's nothing more high-tech than what's going on right now at State Capitol Dragway in Baton Rouge. It is semifinal time in Top Fuel Eliminator, and that is Eddie Hill, the Texan. And Brock, Eddie has had tremendous horsepower the last few races. In fact, at the recent Winston All-Stars race down in Texas, he had top speed over everybody.
Well, Steve, you just got a little peek there at one of our guys, Dave Aylant, one of our cameramen, who just hangs in down there at the starting line and gets all those tremendous close shots. And I'll tell you what, Dave's ears ring for about a week after he gets through with one of these deals, because these boys make some noise and some smoke. It's tough work down there, and he deserves a lot of credit for it.
All the guys that work on the starting line do. You just saw the pretty blonde head there of Ursi Hill, and I think I've said this before, but if Eddie Hill ever said, I don't want to drag race anymore, she wouldn't allow it. She has more, but she demands that he drag race.
Yeah, she just loves it. And as you can see there, she is guiding her man back into the staging lanes, and that's a critical part of the drag racing, because as we've seen here earlier, lane choice and the position on the racetrack is absolutely critical as the traction starts to diminish.
Well, Jerry Amato, in front of her husband Joe, she had an anxious moment out there. The car did not want to go into reverse. The crew ran out there and kind of rocked it back and forth, and it finally disengaged and got into the backup gear. So we're going to have a good two-car match race here. You can bet on it.
This is going to be an interesting race. Eddie Hill, I would imagine you'd say, is the underdog here, but nonetheless has put up some very, very good performances over the recent seasons.
That's right, and what he may lack a little bit of performance, he's been making up with his driving. Eddie Hill has been just as quick as a cat off that starting line. You'll recall earlier, in fact, in round two, he hole-shotted his way around Shirley Muldowney, and few have ever done that. And it is, again, Eddie Hill away first. Eddie Hill almost losing control of that automobile. You saw his handling problems in the near lane, and Jerry Amato says, okay. She likes the numbers she sees on the scoreboard. They're staying in that very competitive 530 range, a 533 at 270 miles per hour.
Big speed for Joe Amato as we go to Big Daddy Don Garlits. Now notice that he has gotten rid of the plexiglass canopy that he's been carrying on that race car for the last few races. Big Daddy is concerned about airflow into the injectors over the top of that roll cage, and has gotten rid of the canopy, hoping to improve that airflow. Now, you notice he put a wide windscreen around the front of the car, which indicates how critical airflow and aerodynamics are on these race cars. It may be that he'll go back to the canopy, but right now, Big Daddy running the open cockpit version of his race car. There goes Big Daddy on his burnout. Dick LaHaye, left lane, has completed his. So these two guys just about ready to square up. Now let's go to Steve with Joe Amato.
Well, this is the fourth race of the season, and for the fourth time, Joe Amato, you go into the finals continuing that 5:30 pace.
Steve, it was exciting up on the start line.
I heard the reverser problem?
No, when I did the burnout and the car came to a stop, the motor revved up real high, like it was idling fast. So I had to, keep my cool, and I put it in reverse and backed it up real quick. Something happened with the linkage here. I still don't know what happened, but it was idling real fast. And I thought the car was going to stall. And we got it back, and, they did something to it, and it staged. But I tried to just keep my cool and not get rattled, because something like that will throw you a curve on the starting line.
I said you've been in 3 previous finals, but you only won 1. Now, what can you do to make sure it's 2 this time?
Well, we had a mechanical problem the last time. We broke our lifter, and we're watching that real close. And I think Tim Richards has a handle on it this weekend, but, it's up to me to do a good job, because LaHaye or Garlits, they're both 2 tough competitors. One of them's going to be in the final here, but we're glad we beat Darrell. We're ahead in the points championship right now, and, we're on a roll, kind of.
So let's find out exactly who that's going to be, okay?
Well, we're going to find out almost instantaneously as we watch Dick LaHaye, that beautiful red and white dragster, get ready to go against the old man, Big Daddy, Don Garlits.
And here you saw a little moisture coming out of that back pipe. Nothing to worry about. They plumb the water into the header pipes, and as the engine heats up and expands, it pushes some water out, and then that's to be expected. That's normal. No problem there whatsoever for Garlits. LaHaye in the far lane, boy, that engine, no motor in drag racing runs cleaner or more efficiently than those built by Dick LaHaye. LaHaye is last to stage, and he is off the mark right with Don Garlits. The 2 of them are side by side, and a little fire out of Garlits' engine that may have cost him the race. Dick LaHaye will go into the finals against Joe Amato at 5:33, 264 miles per hour to Don Garlits losing 5:48.
Well, let's have another look at a pair of real seasoned veterans leaving the line almost together. A little smoke from Big Daddy's big rear slick as it looks as if he's got a little bit of an advantage, but right here at half track, Dick LaHaye takes command of the race. As you see fire from Big Daddy's engine, so Dick LaHaye moves into the finals. Big Daddy goes on to the trailer because of this. You see the blower belt missing. He has had a minor explosion in the blower. It popped the belt off, and whatever happened internally, he and crew chief Herb Parks trying to diagnose it, but that finishes him for the afternoon. A tough break for Big Daddy Don Garlits.
Well, Dick LaHaye saw an awful lot of that black car from Florida before he was finally able to just pull ahead. What a good one.
Yeah, it was pretty close. I got it in high gear, and I started driving away from him then, but he was right there all the while, you know, down to about half track or maybe a little farther. And I guess we just outrun him in high gear.
You did indeed, but I have some bad news. You lost lane choice by 2/100ths of a second to Joe.
2/100ths? Well, at least we got the car back where it was. It slowed down that last run a little bit, and we had a little problem with the clutch, and we put a new clutch in it, and it stepped right back up. So we're looking forward to a good final. We like to race Joe, and, you know, him and I really are good friends. So it's, in fact, I bought this block from him that's in the car right here, and another one to boot.
Joe may be regretting that before this day is over. I think we're going to have a real dogfight in the Top Fuel final. So close they are.
They sure are close. Actually, it's 2/1000ths of a second, not 200, Steve, as we take a look at the beautiful governor's mansion here in Baton Rouge. And those two guys, Joe Amato, Dick LaHaye, go for it in the Top Fuel final, the Citgo K-Mart Cajun National.
And the only thing hotter than the action so far is the weather. Johnny West awaiting his funny car bout with Jim Head, wishing there was such a thing as an air-conditioned helmet.
I'm Brock Yates along with Steve Evans back at Baton Rouge, Louisiana for more action from the Citgo K-Mart Cajun Nationals. Now, right now, the racetrack is quiet, but believe me, things are going on in the pit area. That is Joe Amato's crew, the man in the blue shirt, crew chief Tim Richards, getting ready to plant that giant supercharger on top of that 500 cubic inch aluminum V8 that will propel Joe Amato about 270 miles an hour and a quarter mile. Hard to believe, Steve. Almost 3,000 horsepower in these monster motors.
Well, no one's really sure. It might even be more than that. The beautiful body is latched down over the chassis containing Jim Head of Columbus, Ohio, who won this race back in '85, a former U.S. Nationals champion, preparing to do that all-important burnout. He, too, has the stripe in the tire. We explained earlier with Darrell Gwynn's car what that's all about. A lot of teams are using handheld home video cameras because the angles we bring you at home for race coverage are far different than what they want. I don't think people at home want to see, Brock, just a shot of a black tire spinning in their screen. So the guys are doing it themselves. And I'll tell you, over in the far lane, Johnny West, who has strengthened the respect that he already enjoys from his fellow racers. Without Roland Leong here, the man who has owned and tuned this car for so many years, Johnny West has done a sensational job. He's the second quickest car on the ground. Every time you go over there, he's under the car, he's on top of the car, never takes 10 minutes for himself. The man is, I'll tell you, he's going to be working for Roland for a long time if he keeps this up.
Johnny West, a real pro. Of course, his race shop in Chandler, Arizona, kind of a stop for a lot of guys heading east and west. Well-known race mechanic and terrific race driver. Johnny West, one of the real hardcore pros in this business.
That's right, and enjoys it so much. I wonder sometimes how they can enjoy working as hard as they do. But they do. That's just part of it. It's a thrash, they call it. They're proud to be called a thrasher. That's the ultimate compliment to a guy like Johnny West.
On the other hand, Jim Head from Columbus, Ohio, a professional engineer, a really kind of semi-pro, as it were, but certainly not semi-pro in his accomplishments. Has won some major meets and always a formidable opponent.
And consistency. Head usually has that. This is a very tricky race. Oh, and Head just blows the tires right off of it. A term they use meaning smoked them so badly he had to get off of the throttle. So Jim Head, he just had to throw in the towel on that one. Either that or cross the center line or hit the guardrail. Johnny West with another terrific elapsed time, 5.69 seconds.
253 miles an hour. Let's take one more look at it. In a very, very rare instance, Jim Head loses the bite, and normally his consistency, you just won't see this happen. Jim Head always runs straight and true, but this time not so.
I hope car owner Roland Leong is getting a good tan in the Bahamas because he's missing a heck of a racing afternoon. For the second race this year, Johnny West goes into the finals, 569.
Well, it's consistent. We're trying to soften it up. I'm really scared of it on the starting line. It's trying to spin the tires. I got Dave up there adjusting the barrel valve a little bit. You know, we're just kind of going along.
And the barrel valve does what?
Well, we're trying to make it a little bit softer. It's way too radical right now.
Violent?
Yeah, yeah. But, you know, if we can just kind of calm it down, I'm sure we'll be all right.
If Roland was here right now, what would he tell you to do?
Well, I'm kind of going off of what we discussed before he left. You know, we kind of went through this whole round by round, what would happen, what should we do, and I'm just going along with what he told me. Car's a piece of cake to drive when it runs like that.
Indeed. Doing a terrific job is Johnny West.
He sure is, Steve, as Johnny West will get ready to go against one of two men in the funny car finals here. That engine being fired up, perhaps the strongest of them all in funny car ranks. That's Kenny Bernstein's engine inside that beautiful streamlined automobile of his.
And there are so many secrets on that car. I guarantee, Brock, there's not a funny car racer who wouldn't like to have about 30 minutes alone with that machine and nobody else in the room, because no one is really sure what Dale Armstrong, Kenny, and the crew are doing to arrive at the record-setting winning performances that they're enjoying. It's just hard to fathom that one car can just go down any racetrack in this country like it does. And I'll tell you who's catching up quickly is Dale Emery, the crew chief for Raymond Beetle, the Blue Max Racing team. They have run some phenomenal numbers lately, but they usually need a very good racetrack. This is an okay racetrack, but it's not a Texas Motorplex or an Indianapolis Raceway Park where you can use all of your power.
Right, as the Blue Max gets ready to go with Raymond Beetle on board. Remember, Raymond retired for a while. John Lombardo got in the seat and did a very, very good job. But now Raymond said, well, I'm going to take a crack at it again. His racing team's always successful and probably will be more so now that the boss is driving.
He loves the competition, Brock. And he'll tell you, I like beating my friends. And everybody's Raymond Beetle's friend.
He sure is. One of the great guys in this sport. But right now, all he's thinking about is that red car over there on the left side of your screen, a car that is almost unbeatable. If there has been a particular race car over the last 2 or 3 seasons that have been almost impossible to beat, it has been this one. Kenny Bernstein now on board a car that carries the Buick label, even though it's a little bit hard to recognize in this beautiful streamlined form that he has created for it.
Well, that's a Pontiac Firebird body draped over Raymond Beetle's car. You may see a puff of black smoke on the back of Beetle's car. Don't be alarmed. That's just clutch dust. They're running like a little exhaust pipe out. And they leave pretty much together. Actually, Bernstein had a bit of an advantage. Beetle losing traction just like Jim Head did. And to the surprise of almost no one, Kenny Bernstein reaches another final round at 5.57 seconds.
Well, as you can see, Raymond Beetle coast to a stop, doesn't even deploy the chute. As you said earlier, there comes a little puff of black smoke out of the back of the Blue Max, but that's clutch smoke, but there's more trouble right there, and that's tire smoke, and that marks the end of the day for Raymond Beetle.
Well, as they have all day long, both car and driver performing to perfection. Kenny Bernstein, again, low ET of the meet at a 5:57.
Oh, super. Well, we didn't change anything. We thought we'd run for it one more time and see if the track would hold it. Dale and the crew just did another outstanding job of making the right decisions, and it worked.
Johnny West was down and he says, I hope he runs in the 570 so I'll get lane choice. I said, wouldn't you rather see him get beat? He said, no, I'd like to race him.
Well, Johnny and the Hawaiian Punch car, they've been a good one all year. We enjoy racing them. It's a lot of fun. He's a good driver, and Roland, you know, he's off having some good time in the sun this weekend, so Johnny's trying real hard. It'll be a good battle.
I agree with that. Kenny Bernstein goes to the finals.
So we're heading for the finals in funny car as we have a look at a beautiful building. That is the old state capitol, built in 1819. Right now, though, Johnny West and Kenny Bernstein in the funny car final. Kenny Bernstein with the lane choice. And you think big-time race drivers just sign autographs between rounds? Not Dick LaHaye. He's under his car getting ready for his Top Fuel final run against Joe Amato.
If you come to the beautiful gardens of Rosedown Plantation tomorrow, you'll probably find a lot of the drag racing crews and fans enjoying a side trip to this wonderful location, one of the classic antebellum mansions on the Mississippi River. Right now, the drag racers are very busy, particularly Bob Glidden, because pro stock action coming up now.
And I'll tell you what, this is going to be a wild one. This is Bob Glidden versus Butch Leal. And we could see out of this outcome the winner here at the Cajun Nationals. These two cars are powerful, powerful runners. And Leal, we saw win earlier at the Gator Nationals, and he's really running on a hot streak, Steve. He's got that Trans Am working just perfectly.
But the one thing he hasn't got is lane choice. That goes to Bob Glidden. And even though a lot of cars have been skating around at the finish line in that right lane, more cars have had trouble in the left. And that's exactly where Glidden wants Butch Leal, where there's big trouble. Now, as far as smoking the tires like the funny cars did, Jim Head and Raymond Biddle, you won't see that happen. The pro stock cars don't have that kind of power, maybe 900 horsepower instead of 3,000. But again, it's the top end of this racetrack that has been spooky for the pro stock cars. Glidden seeming able to master that.
Right. He, on his last pass, remember, he had a wobble just a little bit in that very same lane. You can be sure that Bob will be ready for that this time. But whether or not he's ready for that reaction time of this man, Butch Leal, we can only wait and see. This is going to be a super drag race.
It will. The RPM's go. It is Glidden away first. It is Bob Glidden. He's been waiting for a long time for a whole shot over Butch Leal. But look at the power of the Trans Am. Oh! Does Butch Leal's crew love this one? The Pontiac Trans Am and Leal by what, a bumper? Over Bob Glidden, 752 to a 758.
Well, we tell you all the time about the classic examples of drag racing that keep unreeling here in pro stock competition. You're seeing one right here. Two of the finest drivers in the business, two of the very best cars, two perfectly run drag races. And the winner by just a few inches, Butch Leal, 752, 184 miles an hour.
On our shows before, you've heard Bob Glidden say how this man, Butch Leal, beats him up on the starting line. Well, he did the beating up on the starting line. He left on you, and you came around him. Incredible.
Well, that right lane, again, he was in the right lane. And I seen him shake the tires, obviously, and I came right around, and I knew he left on me, Steve. But, you know, we were hanging right there and all the way through there, and that's the way racing is. And he beat up on me a little bit that time, so he's got another one coming.
So you think lane choice right now is a big factor?
Oh, I would say it's a big factor. It's in the right lane. He had lane choice, and he chose the right. I mean, couldn't figure it out, and I was happy to get in the left. But
sometimes that happens. One car will work fine in a certain lane.
It's true. The round before, I was telling you that I had a lot of trouble. Bob came right behind us and went decent, so he didn't suspect it would be bad.
Okay, see you then.
Thank you.
Well, the lane choice continues to be critical here at Baton Rouge as the heat escalates.
Well, as evenly matched as that last pair was, this one may be a bit lopsided. Bruce Allen, who has been running tremendous elapsed time, 750, 760s, against Reed Wisnett, who's been having problems shaking the tires, a term you hear a lot on this racetrack, and his Camaro. But who's to say?
Well, you're right, Steve. As they say, there's no such thing as a sure thing in pro stock competition. It's that close. As Wishnett and Allen get ready to go, let's go up to the other end with Bob Glidden.
Bobby, I know you've just been waiting to somebody ambush Butch Leal on the starting line. You had a great lead. You had the whole shot, but apparently something went wrong.
We took the wrong lane, Steve. You know, we had to guess one way or the other. The left lane had been oiled. The right lane hadn't. We got down the right lane the last round, not as well as we'd liked, but we went a 52. I don't know what we went that run, but Butch...
slowed up to 58.
Yeah, Butch must have run a middle 50 or took the wrong lane, made the wrong decision, that's all.
Okay, thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, Reed Wishnett, definitely the underdog here against Bruce Allen in the Rare Morrison Camaro. As we see a pair of Camaros going... one of these guys is going to get into the final, and that could be good news for Chevy fans around the country, Steve. They have been on kind of a cold streak here over the last few races.
You bet. You can hear the RPMs up, and it is disqualification for Reed Wisnett as he left too soon. Just gambled on the lights, came up snake eyes. It'll be that man in that pretty Camaro, Bruce Allen, against Butch Leal. Now, Allen will be a tenth of a second slower based on the times from the semis.
Okay, let's have one more look at that. There's Wishnett taking the red light right there. That eliminates him instantly. As we take a look at some wildflowers on the banks of the Mississippi, that will set up a pro stock final with Bruce Allen and Butch Leal. Now, both these guys won in the same lane, and Leal will probably choose that.
It's been so long since Bruce Allen and this Chevrolet car have been in the final. I don't think he much cares what he ran, but you won. That's what counts at this point.
That's real important, being in the final, and especially when you got a week to think about it. You know, a week off, and you keep thinking, well, we got it. We're on the right side of the ladder for a change. We qualified second. We need to do the best we can to get in the final, and finally. So happy about that.
Leal's got lane choice. You know he's going to put you where you really don't want to be. Any changes you can make to the car, shocks, anything?
Well, not really, because you never know till you actually get right up there, ready to pull out. Sure. And if something happens in front of you, then sometimes you have a little time to, you're pretty sure you're going to be in the pad lane, obviously, so it gives you a little bit of time.
Even a few degrees of temperature in the air can make a difference.
Oh, absolutely. A place like this, the air comes and goes, and it gets a little breeze and cools down, and it makes a lot of difference.
Okay, it'll be Chevrolet versus Pontiac in the final of Pro Stock.
And it's going to be an interesting one as we go back to the pit area. That's Johnny West's crew working hard to get ready for their funny car final against Kenny Bernstein. Back at State Capitol Dragway, where some of the most interesting automobiles run in the competition eliminator category. Earlier, Steve had a look at one of the most unique machines.
One of NHRA's mottos since the very beginning has been ingenuity in action, and nowhere will you find more of that ingenuity than in the competition eliminator pits. This is Buddy Ingersoll's Double B Altered Buick, one of the most talked about cars in the sport. It's identical to a Pro Stock automobile until, take a look at this. He does not use a 500 cubic inch carbureted motor like a Pro Stock car. This is a very small little Buick V6, 268 cubic inches. But two turbochargers blowing through these mammoth intercoolers through the induction system create so much horsepower that this small motor pushes this car to speeds faster and quicker than any Pro Stock car has ever run. But the Pro Stock guys, you won't see them hanging around here much because turbocharging is illegal in that class. So for now on and for the foreseeable future, this kind of ingenuity will only be found in the sportsman categories.
Well, Steve, as luck would have it, Ingersoll's beautiful little Buick broke in one of the early rounds and kept him out of the competition eliminator final, which posed Ron Neff versus Richie Rosen.
That's right, Richie Rosen in the near lane from Louisiana, been racing down here for years, won a couple of titles a long time ago. Ron Neff, well, he blew in from the state of Colorado, and they're both B economy dragsters. Usually in competition eliminator, you'll see a handicap of the Christmas tree. That's how it works to equalize the competition. But in the comp final, both of the drivers were in the same class car, so there was no handicap. It was a good heads-up race. Both cars powered by small block Chevrolets with automatic transmissions. We've talked a lot today about the whole shot. Well, watch the car in the near lane. That is Ron Neff from Colorado. He was in the far lane. Watch the machine in the near lane. He got the perfect light. There, Richie Rosen, the blue car, absolutely perfect. Had he been earlier, he would have redlighted. It was Rosen in the near lane, and boy, he needed that perfect light, didn't he? Richie Rosen won at 7:55 to Ron Neff's runner-up 7:57. Richie Rosen, the competition eliminator champion.
Top alcohol dragster title goes to Tom Conway. Top alcohol funny car, Vern Motes. The veteran super stock, Dick Baker. The stock winner, Danny Doherty. And super gas, Jimmy Lewis is the winner. Super competition, Steve Cohen. And the Pro Stock motorcycle title goes to Rick Stetson.
Well, some 500 cars started here at the Cajun Nationals at State Capitol Dragway. We're down now to only 6 machines in our pro categories, and here is the Pro Stock final. Can Chevrolet get into the winner's circle again after a drought of some, 15 months? Well, Butch Leal for Pontiac may have something to say about that.
Well, he's already said something about it, Steve, because he stuck Bruce Allen over in that lane that has given everybody trouble all afternoon. So the lower ET on the part of Butch Leal begins to pay off, at least gives him a slight advantage at the beginning. But, of course, the Rare Morrison team isn't given an inch. And earlier, Steve Evans toured their pit just prior to buttoning up their car for this race and filed this report.
So often when we stop by the pits of the Pro Stock finalists, there's really not a lot going on, even if one car is maybe a couple of tenths off. They say, well, all our work is done back at the shop. Well, look at this. Here is Bruce Allen coming out of the Rare Morrison Camaro. He is in there, has removed the transmission, actually now is reinstalling it because they have changed the clutch. The last round, the car shook. He had to short shift third and fourth gear. They're trying to soften up that clutch enough to where he doesn't have to do that. He can use his usual shift points. They've also gone to another set of tires. They very badly want to put Chevrolet back on the winning track.
So a major gamble being taken here by Bruce Allen and his teammates. Very rare, Steve, that they will make any real serious changes between rounds, especially this late in the day.
That's right. You've got to admire them here. They're not desperate. They're just not going to give up, and they feel that Butch Leal has the performance to beat them. And I'll tell you one thing. Bruce Allen has had his best day in the cockpit in a long time. He used to have a luxury of horsepower. Now he's going to have to contribute something off the starting line. And it is Bruce Allen away first by about 4/100ths of a second. It is Bruce Allen with a whole shot, but apparently it still shook the tires. The clutch tranny change did not work. Butch Leal, for the second time this year, goes into the NHRA winner's circle.
Well, we'll get a chance to talk with Butch hopefully in just a minute as we watch those giant headers on the engine of Kenny Bernstein's funny car begin to spit smoke and fire. He's going to get ready to go against Johnny West in the funny car final. So the action just escalates here at Baton Rouge. Steve?
Well, in the final round for the second time this year is Johnny West. You recall in Gainesville he had some problems. In fact, had to leap out of that car about halfway down the racetrack because it was on fire, and Don Perdone got the nod.
Now notice that Johnny West is in the lane that Butch Leal just won the Pro Stock Championship in. Kenny Bernstein with low ET and lane choice has taken the lane that cost Allen the victory. So it'll give you an indication of the differences in the tactics between these two classes.
For the second time this season, Butch Leal puts his Pontiac Trans Am in the winner's circle. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Steve. I wanted everybody to take a look at this car and show it to me one time. This is a brand new car at Gainesville, and it's won 2 races for us. And Willie Rails has built the car for us, and I'm very proud of Willie and very proud of this car. And the Nationwide Auto Parts Valvoline Trans Am is very fast.
You know, you had great confidence in your equipment this weekend. You weren't leaning on the tree like you sometimes do.
Well, I found, like, the second run, I run Larry Morgan, you know, and he was going to show me, right, originally teach me, as he was saying. And I had a 420, and I didn't think it was that good a light, and it scared me a little. So I backed off a little and tried to stay in the 450s. I don't know what kind of light that was, but, it, you know, it was around a 450, I'm sure.
Congratulations again. This will put you in the points lead for the World Championship.
Well, I was in the lead coming, and Bob got low E10 top speed again, and I was really concerned. And I'd like to say something. My wife couldn't make it this week, and I'd like to say hello to her, and we got him, honey.
Indeed, he did.
Thank you.
One of the real veterans, and plays a mean round of golf as well, Steve Evans.
Indeed, he does. In fact, his favorite victim there, too, is Bruce Allen. They play every chance they get. And here, with the hatch up to let a little fresh air in, if he can find any, is Kenny Bernstein, as he does that dry hop forward. That's what they call it, a dry burnout or dry hop. That's to further heat up the clutch. It also gives the crew standing behind the cars an idea if the car is going to hook right off the line. If it smokes them on the dry, they'll back up and do another one. If it still smokes them, you'll see a hand signal, usually to a driver saying, take it easy. But there'll be no taking it easy here. This is it. This is for all the money, all the points at the Citgo K-Mart Cajun Nationals. Kenny Bernstein over in the far lane. In the near lane, the guy that's done such a great job, Johnny West. We're only moments away. There's a crewman approaching Bernstein's car. Starter Buster Couch waves him away. Wanted to do something there at the last second. I don't know if it was accomplished or not. What I do know is they're both free-stage. Bernstein first to move in, followed by West, and they leave right together. Oh, and West right on the center line. Johnny West had to get off the power to try to steer it back into his own lane. That was all Bernstein needed. Kenny wins it at 576, 258 miles per hour.
Well, let's take one more look at it. They leave together, but Johnny almost instantly angles toward the center. Very much in danger of crossing that center line. In fact, he may have, and that disqualifies him instantaneously as Kenny Bernstein goes on to victory.
Good race.
Indeed, it was a good race. Kenny Bernstein, you won all the money, all the points, all the track records, and all of our admiration. Just a terrific job.
Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. You know, it takes a whole effort, and I've always said it. And when you get Jim Mayle and Jeff Scarp and Charlie Nielsen and Mike Baker and then Dale Armstrong putting this Budweiser Quaker State Buick here, it makes it easy for me. But I tell you, it's a tough run today. Johnny and the Hawaiian Punch did a heck of a job.
Boy, do you know there was a little smoke in the dry burnout? I don't know if you could feel that or not, but you could see that Dale might have been concerned.
Absolutely. I could feel it, and he backed me up, and I had to hit the throttle a couple of times to jump the car, as you know, to soften that clutch up a little bit, to make it where it won't be so violent. And I was holding my breath when I left and holding everything else I could at the time because I didn't know if it was going to make it without shaking.
And you know, the success you're enjoying today all started at this very track back in 1979.
Well, it's been a long time since we've done good at the Cajuns. 79's a long time ago. A lot of things have changed since then. I'm glad that we finally put it back together. It's a tough racetrack to run on. It's tough for us. It's beat us up pretty good the last 6 or 7 years.
You mastered it today. Again, congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Our congratulations, too, as we get ready for one last race here. That is Dick LaHaye, already on board his top fuel dragster. He's going to go against Joe Amato.
Sure deodorant, now available in a new Desert Spice scent, salutes Butch Leal, winner in the Pro Stock class. Butch beat Bob Glidden in the semifinals and Bruce Allen in the finals to become Pro Stock Eliminator. Butch Leal, the sure winner of the week.
Citgo, K-Mart, Cajun Nationals. Only 2 top fuel dragsters remaining. Only 2 cars in this entire event, for that matter. I'm Steve Evans, along with Brock Yates, and that is Dick LaHaye. He's in the near lane. In the far lane is Joe Amato. For all intents and purposes, they come in here absolutely tied in performance.
They sure do, Steve, although the low ET goes to Joe Amato, and he has chosen the exact same lane that carried Kenny Bernstein to victory. So it'll be interesting to see as this racetrack continues to be very tricky whether or not that's the right choice. Earlier, Steve had a look at the very intense preparations that Dick LaHaye and his crew went through to get ready for this race.
You know, many times we have commented in our reports from Dick LaHaye's pits that the crew never took the heads off the engine. It ran so reliably. Well, those days are over, and it's not because they're breaking parts. It's because they're running a different type of cylinder head. It's billet aluminum and has absolutely no water coolant to run through it. There are no water jackets. So now the only way they can get the engine cool enough between rounds is to take it completely apart and let the breeze blow through it. Also, another way, they take out all 8 rods and pistons. There's not a thing wrong with these parts. They're just very, very hot. Still, they put in cool rods and pistons. These will see duty again at another race. So the penalty the LaHayes are paying for their newfound performance and all their new parts is they're having to work a lot harder between rounds.
Not as hard, though, right now, Steve, as Dick LaHaye is going to have to work as he goes up against Joe Amato. This is going to be a classic confrontation. 2 very strong cars, and I would say very, very difficult to choose a favorite here.
Well, they both ran 5.33 elapsed time for the quarter mile in the previous round. Only by 2 1/1000ths did Amato earn lane choice. So this is a toss-up. I'll tell you, I wouldn't bet up. Assume either way on the outcome of this top fuel final. Amato's ready. LaHaye is ready. The tree comes down. They leave right together. No advantage off the mark. LaHaye in the near lane. The far lane, Amato. The wind line and the expression there on the crew tells you where it was. Dick LaHaye has won this race by 1/100th of a second. 5:31 to a 5:32.
Fabulous drag race in this top fuel final. Both cars lead together. No clear advantage there. They look as if almost a mirror image of each other as we watch them at half track. There they are, nose to nose, into the lights. Impossible to call a winner almost visually. As we watch Dick LaHaye's crew, the truck being driven by daughter Kim coming down the racetrack. Boy, are they happy.
Dick LaHaye came out of this car saying the same thing that we're all saying. What a race.
Well, I hope to tell you, we was right together all the way down the track. And, you know, I knew Joe and I was going to have a good race in the final here because we both run 33s and, you know, we're both very consistent. And
that was a 31 to a 32.
Well, that's a little bit better yet then, wasn't it? I guess we did the right move on it. And all I can say with all this heat and everything with the track, that it's definitely Miller time.
In 4 races this season, 4 different winners. What a top fuel year it's going to be. It already is.
Oh, yeah, I know it. You know, it's got to a point where that it's got... The cars are so bunched together with Darrell and Joe and Garlitz and myself, and now I've moved ahead of Garlitz into number 3 spot. And, you know, it's just... It's going to be a heck of a season. We're not even halfway through it yet.
And you can celebrate this victory in a big way next Saturday, right?
Yes. In fact, I'm going to be married next Saturday, 11 o'clock in the morning. And I'd like to invite everybody, but there just isn't enough room.
Dick and the lovely Claudia. She'll be down here in just a moment along with the rest of the LaHaye family. What a race that was. What a final round.
Our congratulations to Dick and all the other great champions here at Baton Rouge. For Steve Evans, I'm Brock Yates. Thanks for joining us.
The executive producer for American Sports Cavalcade is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John B. Mullen. Promotional consideration provided for and a fee paid by the Style Auto World Championship Team, the nation's premier source of fast lane fashions. Style Auto, the champion's choice for the style of your life. American Sports Cavalcade is a presentation of Diamond P Sports.